The following is a paid program. Advice and opinions expressed during the program are solely that of Empeople Credit Union, not WBEV or Good Karma Brands. It's time to talk money talks here. We have Empeople Credit Union in the building once again, and I'm so excited to be joined by Zach Borens today, who is the market manager right here in our local area. So you're going to be able to see his face a lot if you're going into our local branches here with them people. Zach, first of all,
doing really, really well, Wally. Thank you for having me.
oh, it's a blast to have you. We've been talking this week. I've been looking forward to this for a few days now. And Zach, before we even get going with everything we got to talk about today, I'd love to dive into a little bit about you, your story. Can you tell us how it came to be that you're working at Empeople?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got my start with Empeople about 3 years ago. Back then, believe it or not, we had our sole branch located right there in the John Deere facility in Horicon, Wisconsin. I was working in insurance prior and had actually a longtime friend who was this was his first job out of college. He had been here for a long time, had mentioned that they were looking for someone for the Horicon office. I was entertaining some things, young, a few years ago there, and decided to make the move up to Dodge County, up to Horicon, actually Mayville, but up to Mayville and start working over there in Horicon. And it has turned into the most amazing thing that I couldn't have ever imagined.
Oh, well, I believe it. Even going through, I've only been to the Fond du Lac location so far. You were telling me about the origins here in Wisconsin and being in the John Deere facility. That's so cool to me. I had no idea that that's where it all started. And you get to be kind of part of this boom that we're seeing with them people here in Wisconsin. What has it been like for you, I guess, this first 3 years? What's been the thing that you're most excited about?
Man, so some of this boom that you're talking about, some of this expanding that we're doing in the state of Wisconsin is far and away been the most exciting part recently. When I started here working in the Deere facility, is a phenomenal experience, and that's still something that we are incredibly focused on. That's where we've been for decades now. But now, kind of coming out of the Deere facility a little bit, we're just looking to do some of that expanding, help more members, widen our net a little bit in some of these areas where we already have our Deere facilities, and then that's where our branches now in Mayville, Theresa, Lamira, Fond du Lac, and of course our existing branch still right there in Horicon working with our Deere members. That's where all of that comes from, and that's what makes this really, really exciting. We're able to help more people in Wisconsin. We're able to help our existing members out of the Deere facility where they are. If they're not able to come see us at work, we've now got branches in the area. And then of course, that net is now, we're able to help so many more people in our great state.
I was talking to Maggie Pavano last week with you guys as well, and I mentioned this to her, and I get to echo it today with complete sincerity. I am always blown away when I talk to somebody over at Empeople, hearing the passion and the excitement about what you get to do. And the biggest thing is that Empeople is empowering people. So that's like what your guys' goal is to not only help Empeople, but you're looking out for us individuals too, not even groups, individuals as well.
Yes, exactly. That's what we want to do. We're focused on empowering people. We want, we'll get into some more of this type of stuff, but we believe everyone should have a financial expert in their corner that's helping them through all the stages of life. We want to work from you from when should we even offer minor accounts and things like that? We want to work with you from your 20s all the way to your 90s and beyond. We believe that everyone is needing of that financial expert in their corner to help them navigate all the challenges of life and everything like that. That's what we believe with Empeople, and that's the most exciting part about this, expanding in Wisconsin and everything. We get to help so many people, empower so many people to take control of their finances and do exactly that.
Well, and to actually empower people when it comes to finances. Finances are scary to so many people. I know that really rings true for myself. I get scared to sometimes type in the account and see what's going on in there. So yep. Financial guidance is a big thing, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. And I want to start with the big question of the starting out or starting over. We'll start with the starting out here today. Building credit. That's something that I think a lot of people, in theory of certain things that you can do, but there's a lot of broader ways that you can actually build your credit. For somebody that wants to get that score to a good number, what are some tips that you can give that people like me can implement. So all of a sudden, hey, I can go in and be like, hey, I'm actually pretty proud of this score, Zach.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and to the first thing that you said there, you're not alone. So many people aren't alone, and finances, kind of in general, being a stressful topic, a stressful thing to think about. We find so many people are spending hours and hours of their days at work thinking about their financial situations. People thinking about their financial situation, challenges that they're having when they're at home, spending time with their families. This is something that weighs on just about everyone out there, and that's where that ongoing financial guidance comes in, and it all starts with credit building and exactly some of those things that you're talking about here. I think the biggest or the starting point is with education. It's knowing kind of what goes into your credit score. Obviously, we know the loans that we have, the credit cards that we have, the things like that show up on our credit report. What does that mean? The other things that your credit report tracks are going to be the payments towards those loans, the dates that those loans were open, any potentially little missteps with payments and things like that are all going to show up on a credit report. And when I say missteps with payment, if maybe someone was late.
Yeah, but it comes in April 14th and you're paying on the 16th.
Exactly. So those are the types of things that will be reflected. Another big thing is like credit card utilization and your balance. So we know a lot of people have credit cards. A lot of people have balances on those credit cards. A lot of people are able to keep up with the payments, the minimum payments on those credit cards, things like that. What people may not know is how having a higher balance can drag your score down, because the credit bureaus will look at the percentage of the total credit available to you that you've used up. And then there's percentages there that will cause your score to go down or up a little bit depending on what threshold you're at. So there are those little things. We all know some of the basics behind credit, but there are a lot of little things that we want to first and foremost take the opportunity to educate our members on, so that they know as they're going through life, as we're helping them navigate these financial challenges and financial situations that we're talking about here, so people are aware of how that's impacting them on the back end with credit and things like that.
So, like, for instance, if you had a credit card, this is fascinating to me. So, let's say you have a credit card, the line of statement runs like $20,000.
Yep.
And let's say you have $10,000 that you owe then off of that $20,000. I'm going to see my credit score go down at that $10,000 opposed to if I had $2,000 that I owe instead.
Exactly correct. Yep.
I did not realize that.
So it shows, that credit card with that $20,000 balance will show up. The amount that you've used on it will show up. Like the limit versus the balance will all be there. All of your on-time payments will be there. That's all great to see, especially if everything is on time. And there's a separate section, though, where it shows the percentage utilization. Apologies.
No, trust me, you sound like me. I feel good.
The percentage utilization is a separate part that also contributes to that score that you're seeing.
Wow. So let's say, all right, like we talked about building. So if you're in this position that we're talking about now where maybe you've seen your score fall, how do we go about actually repairing it? I know that that's probably a little different than the build. What does that look like?
So it's different for everyone. That's the first thing. And we like to sit down and have a conversation with our members. It's one of the initial conversations that we have when we're talking about getting an account opened up, or after we've got an account opened up. We want to learn about your situation and what's led you to be in the situation that you're in, because it can look a little bit different for everyone. And we have the tools, the services to kind of fit different situations. So what that can look like, for someone who's maybe in that, a cool way to look at it too is kind of the credit building, credit repair as two different areas to focus on. Credit building, maybe someone, really regardless of what age there are, but generally speaking, more younger folks that don't have loans, maybe have never had the need to take out a loan before, something like that. Their credit's going to show as insufficient, not able to return.
Because they've not had any proof of what they've been able to do with it.
Exactly. That type of individual, we have a couple of things that we can do, and you've maybe even heard of some of these types of things, starter credit cards and stuff like that. We have much, much more that we can do to help out members, but just some things to put 3-4 initial trade lines on a person's credit that's going to start reporting some of that good history, going to start building up that credit. Those individuals, it's tough to put a number on it, but for someone just getting started, like I said, we got 3-4 things that we can do to add some automatic credit history, some automatic on-time payment history. Those things will increase a credit score very, very quickly. And at that point, of course, if we can get your credit score into a very, very good spot in a short amount of time, doesn't necessarily mean that all of the lending in the world is open up to you. Lenders still want to see.
It takes time.
It takes time. They want to see that ability to pay things back over time, et cetera, et cetera. But those are the things that we can do to help that person who's maybe got no credit at all start working towards being in a good position.
Well, circling back to everything, how you even started this, where financial education is really the best place to start. And for people that don't even know where to start, how would you recommend to actually get educated on a topic that, frankly, you don't get taught about this in school? You have to do a lot of this on your own time. How would you recommend starting?
Come and have a conversation with a relationship manager or a manager like myself at Empeople Credit Union. I think that's a spectacular place to start. And of course, there are a lot of resources out there that you can do to gain some foundational financial education. I don't have anything specific off the top of my head. I'd of course want you to come and talk with one of our relationship managers or myself over at Empeople, but there is a lot of good information out there, through the credit bureaus and stuff like that, where you can gather some educational pieces to really take it to the next level. Though for the majority of people, you're gonna need an expert in your corner.
Amen.
That's gonna be the number one way to take it to the next level, because you can do research. There are good pieces of information that you can find to start gaining some of the education that we're talking about here. But to really make sure that you're set up for long-term success, you need that dedicated person that it's their job to make sure that you're working towards your goals and staying in a good situation.
Well, I know it's so many of us, whether it's in the workforce, whether it's your own personal life, or it's money, asking questions can sometimes be intimidating because you don't want to feel like a fool because you don't know what's going on. It sounds like every time I talk to you guys that you were saying, like, come with any question you have. We're here to help. And if it doesn't work out, that's fine. We're here to help you. And if you do see the rewards and what can happen, great. We can continue to work together. But come with any question, it sounds like, and you guys are willing to explore ways to answer that.
Yes, exactly. And Wally, that's exactly because, there are no stupid questions. 3 to 5 years ago, that person that's afraid to ask the stupid question was me, before I started work and started gaining all of this knowledge and started putting it into practice for myself and things like that. So no, you're absolutely right. It's got to start somewhere. And myself, I was kind of thinking about some of those same types of things 3 to 5 years ago, and I gained the education through being an employee of Empeople Credit Union, and now I just want to, and I know all of our relationship managers, all of our Wisconsin staff want to do the same. Want to spread that love, pass that on to as many of our awesome community members as we can.
Well, and I know some people in the community, myself included, things happen where we look at outside with the weather that we have. Maybe the hail comes, and all of a sudden you need that emergency money, that emergency funds. What kind of recommendations would you have for people, whether it be the amount of sums that you should have, whether that's a percentage, or how you would be trying to keep that in mind while paying off the credit while still making sure that you're protected for that rainy day?
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of some of those financial, we started off talking about some of the credit building, credit repair types of things, that managing cash flow, budgeting, things like that really comes into play in any of the financial guidance programs we have. Whether you're that person who maybe does need to do a little bit of credit building or credit repair, or maybe things are going really, really well, but we're paying on a mortgage, we're paying on cars still, we've got kids in school or daycare.
Life's
stuff
expensive.
Like that. Life is expensive. So regardless of what situation you're in, budgeting, cash flow management, things like that are always, always, always going to be a valid topic of conversation. And that's where we also, outside of some of these credit building stuff that we're talking about, products and services, things like that we can work with our members on, that budgeting, we have a bunch of different tools built out there as well to put in our members' hands, things where you can enter money coming in, Put in the bills that are going out. It'll track expenses, track spending, group things together for you. That is the other 50%, the other side of the coin, if you will, when it comes to financial health, is that budgeting, cash flow management, and spending plans are something that I love to spend all day putting together.
Well, it goes back to kind of what we were saying before, but regardless of what you're doing in life, whether it's the personal side, whether you're trying to build a rocket ship, you have to have good habits if you are going to set yourself up for success in anything. And setting yourself up for success financially, you got to have good habits as well. Now, I don't know necessarily how you recommend starting with that. Is that another one where it's just, hey, bring your stuff to us, ask us the questions. We're going to help guide you and try to build those good habits opposed to reinforcing the bad ones.
Yes, exactly. I think that's where, find that dedicated financial expert that's going to be able to work with you on putting these plans together. But even so, it is very, very important to have a budget as someone, whether you're a member of Empeople Credit Union or not. It's very, very important to have a budget. This is one of the things that is much easier said than done because, at face value, a budget we're going to get, and we've got cool Excel spreadsheets and systems that we can put all of these things into, and then put those things into your hands. But at face value, a budget, we're going to write down money coming in versus money going out. So what really needs to happen when we're putting together a budget, because that part of it is so simple, is identifying the habits, identifying the good habits, identifying the bad habits, talking about the goals that individuals have, how important are these goals compared to how these spending habits and things like that, and just having those conversations, things that are hard for us to think about when we're spending all day at work, driving home to pick up the kids or whatever that may look like. Where's the time to think about those things?
Yeah.
Let us help you. Let us sit down. We may need to find a little bit of time to sit down, to carve aside and talk about things, but let us be the expert that helps identify those things, talk about those things, weigh the pros and cons, and then you take that budget spending plan where it's just, money coming in and money going out, but now we know what the habits are behind it and everything, and we can change behaviors if needed.
Well, and imagine too, every person is different. Their budgeting is going to be different because their goals are different.
Yep.
If you're, hey, you know what, I'm going to be single forever. I want to have my fun time. Great. That's going to be one way to do it. But then there's going to be the family of 7 that comes in where it's going to be more of the, all right, we got to be a little more disciplined and follow along and finding out what that budget could be. It could be as simple as going in and talking to one of the great people at Empeople.
Sit down, talk. Let's iron it out. We'll get all the numbers on the paper. We'll talk through situations. What you like to do for fun. What you maybe, when in the month you maybe start to feel that pinch, or what bill hits that causes you to feel that pinch a little bit. Let's figure all of these things out. Talk about options that we have. Maybe even you find out people have high interest loans and things like that. You get into some consolidation opportunities. Let's see if we can save you on some interest, get some money back into your pocket that way. There are a number of different ways where once we kind of get a better idea of that financial picture, there are so many different ways to help people get into that healthy financial.
We're talking today with Zach Borens, a market manager right here in the area with Empeople Credit Union. And this was a question that doesn't really pertain to me quite yet, but talking about complex money decisions, how about we move into the people that are like, hey, I'm doing pretty well right now, but I really don't have a plan. I don't know what the end game is. What does the process look like for somebody that right now isn't necessarily feeling that paycheck to paycheck lifestyle?
Yeah, I think what we're talking about right now is a great lead into that kind of that financial success program that we have within our ongoing financial guidance programs. That's where we're helping navigate those complex life decisions and those times, those stretches of life where we're paying on our mortgage, we're paying on vehicles. Maybe, the money coming in is good, but the money going out is also high because we haven't paid off our cars yet. We haven't paid off the mortgage. The kids are still in school. All of those types of things. That is a huge area. And like I say, the spending plans, budgeting, cash flow management, that applies in every single ongoing financial guidance program that we have. And it's especially important in this middle section that we're talking about here, because things are good, but we're spending a lot of money. So we want to just make sure that we keep a handle on that so that we don't end up in a situation where maybe we've got to go back into some credit repair. Maybe we get into a little bit of trouble, and then maybe we have to go back in to get into some credit repair, stuff like that. We don't want that to be anyone's situation. You know, if you're in that good spot, let's put together an in-depth spending plan, cash flow plan, and make sure that you stay in that good spot while we're paying for school, while we're paying for the cars, while we're paying for everything else.
Can you walk me through a little bit of the process of, like, we obviously, when you set goals, the goal is to achieve those goals.
Yes.
So how, like, does the process actually work? We come in, we talk to you, we kind of figure out what the budget needs to look like. What really happens from there as the next steps to make sure we are staying accountable and following through on these goals?
Yes, that's another place where I really think that we set ourselves apart. We want to create that one-to-one member to relationship manager, financial advisor relationship. So through part of these ongoing financial guidance programs that we have, we will customize a follow-up schedule. At minimum, if, for example, if I'm working with members in our credit building, credit repair program, we're going to get credit score updates from the bureaus periodically throughout the year. At minimum, that's going to be our checkup opportunities. I'm going to call you. We're going to talk through your progress. We're going to pat you on the back if things are going really well. We're going to hype you up.
I like that positive reinforcement.
Yes, we want to acknowledge the successes. If for whatever reason things maybe don't look like they're progressing as they should, let's do a credit analysis. Let's sit down and figure out what's maybe going wrong, or what's not quite working exactly how we wanted it to. And let's see what that issue may be and what we can implement to get you on the right track. So it's a customizable program based on the goals and the needs of our members. We can do everything from monthly follow-ups to quarterly follow-ups, but that's the idea, is we are very intentional with our follow-ups with our members. Get an account opened up. We're going to reach out to do an onboarding and figure out everything about your financial situation, what we can do to help, how we can get some money back into your pockets.
Well, you brought up that 6-letter scary word a minute ago, too. It's that credit word.
Yeah.
And I know that there's different ways to manage it correctly.
Yep.
So, like, just personally telling you about, like, my track here a little bit. I was the guy that in college, I didn't have a credit card right away because I'm like, I want to just know what I have, spend it. And then there were those times where I'm like, wow, how am I going to pay for the dinner tonight? I put myself short.
Yep.
So I eventually got the credit card.
Yep.
And then it almost plays a trick in your head where it's just like, I've got this endless supply of money. I'm in a good spot. All of a sudden, I don't have to worry about the next meal. I can have as many as I want. Where's that balance? What does that look like to you guys, where it's we want to use the credit card to build the credit, but at the same time, while being responsible with it?
I love it. I love that question. Everything goes back to that education.
Yes.
Exactly. So when we're talking about credit scores, everything like that, but then even when we get into credit cards specifically, how to use credit cards, things like that, it's all about education. As simple as credit cards, they are great. They provide tons of fraud and security protection because that money's not directly coming out of a checking account like it is with a debit card. They are spectacular, but that is not free money.
Yes.
That's the biggest. It's as simple as that.
It's just money you don't have right now.
It's money that you don't have right now, but you have to pay it back. So that's where it provides and affords you some of the fraud and security protections and things like that. And it can give you flexibility in an emergency, but it all goes back to education and making sure the member knows it, laying it out exactly like we're talking about it here. This is not free money. This is something that will be available to you in case of an emergency. But no, if you do use this in the event of an emergency, you have to pay it back with interest and things like that. That's where I think just that extra step to educate our members rather than getting a credit card and send you out the door.
Yeah, and see you later. Good luck out there.
Exactly. Or even on the flip side, kind of like we're talking about, God forbid, a loan denial type of thing, rather than Denied, send you out the door. Let's go into some of the credit building.
Yeah, let's
credit
figure out how
repair
we
stuff.
can make this
How
better.
we can get this approved in the next couple months.
I like that.
That's the whole idea, Wally. Yeah.
Well, one of the things when we were game planning and talking about what we really wanted to focus on today, something that came up was a conscious spending plan. And this is something I don't really not or necessarily know what you guys mean by that. Can you walk me through a little bit about what that really looks like for you guys? Because there's a lot of times out there, yeah, you know what you need to be buying, but then there's that like, all right, the one-off, like, all right, I'm good with buying this bag of chips or the pizza on Friday night. The conscious spending plan, can you walk me through it?
Yeah, so the conscious spending plan is all about conscious spending, right?
Yeah, I like that.
So it is focused on kind of a holistic conversation that we have with the member to figure out goals. And then we make all of our purchases with those goals in mind. Is this going to help me achieve the goals that I talked about with my financial advisor? Theoretically, pretty simple. If the answer is yes, if I can make this purchase and still, maybe my goal is save $10,000 over the next year to put a down payment on a house. If I can make this purchase, if my spending plan allows me to make this purchase and still meet my savings goals to hit that $10,000 by the end of the year, I'm probably okay to go. I'm probably okay with this decision. If not, then I want to be conscious. I want to have that moment before I swipe the card, before I click.
You have to have that tough internal dialogue with yourself that this might be good now, but it's not what I need, and we're trying to work for something here.
Exactly. So there's that conscious spending on the part of the member, of ourselves in this situation, thinking about those things, those purchases as how they affect our goals is the first part of it. And then, in terms of the tools that we can use to help someone put together a conscious spending plan, that's where we can get a little bit more in depth, having something, whether it's chicken scratch on the paper or whether it's a rudimentary Excel spreadsheet where you kind of have things tracked as good, you can get really successful with a conscious spending plan when you get a little bit more in depth with some of the tools that we have, where it's going to track and group together your expenses. We all love Quick Trip here in Wisconsin.
Yep.
If we're, stop, it's easy to stop at Quick Trip and grab a soda and a little breakfast sandwich or something like that.
And all of a sudden, it's $10 every single day that's out the door.
Every single day. Sometimes all that it takes is seeing, holy cow, I spent $400 at Quick Trip this month, just on my breakfasts on my way to work. Sometimes that's all that it takes to get into a conscious spending plan. Now you're conscious about where your money is going, and maybe you'll address things a little bit.
Well, so I'm a big fella, as you can tell. I love to eat
Myself
food.
too.
Oh yeah, you're big, but in the tall sense. Give yourself a break. But I tell you, I'm a big guy, so like a lot of times with people like me, it's it's time for me to get in the gym. Let's lose some weight, and then you have this like, I'm going to lose it all in like one trip to the gym kind of mentality that you go. And I think that applies to people with, I'm going to save a ton of money and I'm just not going to spend on anything anymore. And that's not rational either. That's also where you're going to burn out and it's not going to feel sustainable. Yep. So maximizing savings while having that balance, how do you even kind of forecast that? How do you project that out to help somebody?
I wish I had my one of the spreadsheets that I'll use on here, because we get money coming in, money going out, whatever's left over, that's what we set our goals with. And I've got a line item built out in the spreadsheet that fund money. We want to make sure that
you can still do something.
Yes. We want to make sure that you can still do something. Now that conversation, how much is set aside for those types of things, can depend on how ambitious, how realistic goals are and things like that. We will have, it's a fine line to walk, because you want to make sure that you're acknowledging a member's goals and things like that. But we also, like you said, we don't want to do things that are unrealistic. We want to make sure that you can enjoy your life. And that's something that we have built in to our cash flow program, our spending plans and our cash flow management spreadsheets and things like that.
So for example, and I'll use round numbers to make it simple. Yeah. Let's say you made $5,000 a month and $4,000, you're like, this is going to go to the house payment, to the cars, the food, kids, whatever we want, and we need that $4,000. You have $1,000 left over. You're going to be like, hey, let's figure out how much of this $1,000 left over you want to save, or how much do you and the family want to go to a concert this month? Well, let's allocate a little bit of money there and figure out of that 1,000 what we're actually going to be saving each month.
Exactly. That's the exact way that if we've got that $1,000 sitting there, maybe you want to save a few grand up by the end of the year. Okay,
Yeah.
Let's put 25% of that 1,000 aside monthly. That's going to leave us with, what is that, $3 grand at the end of the year.
Nicely done. That was fast, man.
We'll have $3 grand at the end of the year if we do that. That's going to allow you to accomplish that goal, save up a month's worth of expenses. If that's that's another thing that we get into with the goals that we coach people. We want to hear what your goals are, and then we also want to give you some of the good tips and tricks and practices. Someone that doesn't have a 3-month emergency fund built up, maybe that's something that we should think about, type of thing. So in this situation that we're talking about here, I got $1,000 left over every single month. Don't have too much of an emergency fund. Okay, let's get your emergency fund built up so that if the money stops coming in for a little while, you don't have to worry about anything. You can still pay for everything that you need to pay for.
Well, so kind of building on this, when you're talking about almost longer term, because what we're talking is almost the monthly or the annually. When you're looking long-term net worth, I imagine it's probably the similar process. You're just almost stretching this out. And this is why talking about it annually is about building the good habits so you can develop the net worth in a long term.
Exactly. Yes. 100%. It's talking about it and having touch points consistently. It's being like the conscious spending plan. It's being conscious of your financial situation at all times is really what it takes. And that's not, we're talking about being stressed out, thinking about finances at work all the time. There'll be a turning point where you're thinking about your finances because you know how good of a spot you're in, and you're thinking about your next investment opportunity, or you're thinking about this little chunk of change that you can throw into a CD. So, it's important to always be thinking about our financial situations. It's all about making sure when we're having those thoughts, they're positive thoughts.
Amen to that. Yeah. Well, looking at when you say the word legacy, a lot of people, you're thinking of the sports. I know you played sports growing up too. You think of the Jordans. But talking about legacy from a personal and talking about your family long-term, retirement is something that everybody has in the back of their mind. And talk about scary again. I brought that word up a lot today, but it can be scary, especially when you look at the world, how expensive it is. And you're worried about where it is going to look down the road for that retirement readiness. Or what are the kind of plans that you guys use to make sure we are ready when that day does come?
Exactly, yeah. So that's where our investment in retirement services program comes into play. We have an amazing accredited licensed investment in retirement services team at Empeople Credit Union, and that's exactly what they're focused on, building your legacy, making sure that you're set up for a healthy and successful and happy retirement. That is exactly what they are here for. They could help with everything from how many of us have previous employers with 401ks lying around? They can help with everything from finding those little, whether they're big or whether they're small, I had a couple of smaller ones from some places that I worked at when I was younger, helping you find and identify those old 401ks that are out there, get them all brought together into an account that's going to get you some returns, whereas your previous employer may just have it sitting in a basic account, not earning much interest. We can help you bring all of those things together. So number one, you have them all in one place again. You can see, maybe you forgot about them. Maybe you have a couple grand in retirement that you didn't know about. We can help you get all those in-house, start earning some interest, some rewards on those things. And then we've got all that here so we can help you when it comes to putting together a retirement plan. We have conversations about your goals, how much you want to spend per month in retirement, and then our licensed financial advisors on the investments and retirement services team can make sure, okay, you want to have X amount per month in retirement. You're this age now. This is how much we should be contributing to 401ks. This is how much we should be setting aside for additional investments into mutual funds, annuities, things like that.
So this is going to be a really weird question. We're talking with Zach Borens, the market manager right here in the area with the Empeople Credit Union. Zach, bear with me here with I ask this. Do you know what the K-pop something hunters, the band is.
K-pop Demon. I know
Yes,
that's
K-pop
swept
Demon Hunters.
Netflix by storm there. Yep.
The reason I ask that is that I'm aware of it, but I don't know anything about it. 401k supplement plans. I think a lot of people almost hear the same thing where you're like, yeah, I know K-pop Demon Hunters. I think it's a band. 401k, I know there's money with that. Supplement options, when people have no idea what this even is, first of all, I imagine go in, ask the questions. Yep. But what are the kind of things that you guys do? It sounds like you were describing a little bit, but again, a little bit of this is Spanish to me at this moment.
Absolutely, yes. So a lot of us are potentially familiar with the employer-sponsored 401ks, things like that, where we can contribute a portion of our paychecks to a retirement account. Some companies will match up to a certain percentage, so on and so forth. That's going to be something that a lot of people are familiar with through just working in the industries. Beyond that, there are so many things that you can do with your money to invest for retirement. There are things like IRAs. There are things like mutual funds and annuities where you can put funds aside into a fund that a lot of them are based off of different things. You know, some of them are based off of companies in the stock market like the S&P 500, things like that. You can invest portions of your money outside of your 401ks into things like that to see a return on your investment.
And again, for people out there that have no idea what it is, instead of trying to go through the Google searches and do all that where you're going to get yourself even more confused, walk in and you guys are going to make the time and be willing to answer these questions and prove that, hey, we're the people that you want to turn to because we're here to look out for you at the same time.
Exactly. Yes, that's the exact, an individual comes in and maybe they're in a great spot with they're maxing out the portion of their retirement that they can contribute to get their employee match. They're doing everything the right way there. They've got a chunk of change sitting aside for whatever reason, an inheritance, you hit the lottery, whatever that may be, and we want to get that money working for you just the same way that your 401k is working for you. So let's get it into some similar type of investment accounts so that that's going to grow over the next 20, 30, 40, 10 years, however much time you got left till retirement, and then you'll have a significantly larger chunk of change sitting there, ideally, when you're ready to retire.
Yeah, ideally, we're crossing our fingers out here.
No.
Well, Zach, when people walking in, what does the process actually look like? Like, how long does it usually take for someone to feel comfortable and know that they have that one-on-one partnership with somebody at Empeople? How long does that actually take to really get to that point?
Yeah, I think so. What we look to do, we have a couple of different avenues that you can get an account opened up. You can visit our website, empeople.com, click join right there, and you'll be able to open up an account through the website. More than welcome to visit any of our branches. We've got amazing member relationship officers on the front line that can help you get accounts opened up. Our member relationship officers can also help you get connected to relationship managers, market managers, branch managers to open up accounts as well. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do things to establish the membership. Once that point comes, depending on how it comes into us, if it's online, our system will grab it up. You know how that type
absolutely.
of stuff goes. But if it's in person, we get the account opened up, and that's where we then want to sit down and do a little new member interview. 15, 20 minutes, however much time. We want to be respectful of all of our members' time as well. So, we do want to ask for a few minutes to ask some questions about the financial picture, to ask some questions about what the financial goals are, to ask some questions about maybe where you do your banking currently and some of the things that you've gone to them for help for and things they've been able to help or maybe not been able to help out with in the past, just to give us a better idea of where your focuses are, what your goals may be, and what we may be able to do to help.
Well, because it sounds like every time I talk with them people, a big emphasis, I heard customizable earlier, but it's almost that not one size fits all. We're going to figure out what that shoe size is. We're going to figure out what the plan that really works for you is. And even with the meetings, I'm sure some people, they're like, hey, I've got 15 minutes where you got me locked in. I got to bail on you. And I'm sure that you're like, that's fine. We'll reassess, come back in, we'll talk again. And it sounds like you guys are very open to different kind of strategies for every person.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we understand that every single person is different. From there, we understand every single person's financial situation is different. We want to tailor our conversations and things like that, of course, to fit the member's schedule at a minimum, just to be respectful of time and things like that. But then, yeah, we want to tailor every single conversation that we have to our specific member's situation. We think that allows us to provide really, really next level service to our members, but then also help them actually make noticeable change in the right direction with their finances.
Zach, we only have about 5 minutes left, but I wanted to ask before we let you go today. I love hearing the stories that you can actually see the difference that you guys are making. Do you have any that stick out that whether you directly were a part of or you got to watch somebody's life altered in a positive sense because of what you guys were able to do with the services at Empeople?
Yeah, so I think there's so many different examples. Some of the stories that I can tell you. Number one, I love working, and this kind of goes to show the community element and everything like that. I've been in the branch, see a lot of people throughout the day. It's a little bit more of a specific scenario, but you get to talking with someone in the branch that stops in during the day. Hey, I've got a son or a daughter that's in college right now, something like that. And the parent is coming in, they're a member with us, they're getting a transaction, they're doing whatever it may be. And they think they've had good experiences with us, and then they bring up a family member or a friend or something like that. Hey, I think my son in college could really benefit from some of this credit building stuff that I hear about. That's my favorite type of scenario, when we have people talking about the things that we've done for them, the things that we can do to help, and it creates that really tight-knit community vibe. And then when you have that kid come in, whether it's a referral, whether it's someone, their coworker, a parent told them to stop by, and they want to make that first big truck purchase or something like that. Maybe they don't have any credit history or anything, and they're getting out of their high school car, the car that they drove in high school.
Yeah, we all know.
And everything like that. Yes. So a lot of times it's tough for that individual to get approved for a loan because of the lack of credit history like we're talking about. It's my favorite thing to be able to say, we're not going to deny you for a loan and send you out the door. We've got 3 or 4 things that we can do, minimal action required on your end to get this set up, get some things implemented. It doesn't mean we're going to be able to do it today, but come back in 6 months, you'll be an all-in member with us. We'll have some of that credit history established. I can't wave magic wands and make crazy promises and things like that, but let's look at things again in a couple of months rather than just, sorry, you're too young, you don't have any credit history. See you next time.
It sticks out to me too, because I know you're a father as well. My parents, like the love for your children, everybody out there that's a parent, they understand that's unique. It's a special kind of love to actually be able to say, what you're doing for me is so nice that I want you to help my child with that. I think that speaks to the trust that you're able to instill and build with these partners of yours.
Those are the cool situations, yes. And I use the kid parent situation, but that just anytime, coworkers in the different companies and all the different employers that we have in our areas, when they're talking at breaks and when they're talking throughout the day about their awesome experiences that they've had with us, how they've been able to help or how we've been able to help them, and that drives another person to us that we can help. That's the greatest. That's my favorite thing about the job.
Well, last thing for you today, Zach, when you say Empeople Credit Union, why is it different than the other credit unions out there, the banks, the other things like that? What separates Empeople from everyone else?
Is we believe everyone deserves to have a financial advisor. Everyone deserves to have a dedicated expert, because finances are one of the most stressful things that come up in our day-to-day. Every single person deserves to have that expert in their corner, whether you're in this investment and retirement services world that we're talking about. Maybe you got $1 million sitting aside. You still need someone to help you manage those funds. Or maybe you've had some bumps in the road, some life challenges, things like that, and you're not in the best spot. You don't have the best credit. You don't have the best savings. You are just as deserving as a dedicated financial expert as anyone else, and that's we want to work with everyone.
We've been talking with Zach Borens this morning, the market manager right here in the area with Empeople Credit Union. Zach, it's been a pleasure talking with you today, and I'm fired up. We get you back next month, so we get to do this another time here.
Yes, sir. That'll be awesome. Looking forward to it in May, Wally.
Yeah, you're the man, Zach. That is going to do it for us today. The proceeding was a paid program. Advice and opinions expressed during the program are solely that of Empeople Credit Union, not WBEV or Good Karma Brands.